Hello, dear travel friends. You have probably already read the topic of today's video in the title. Of course, Wismar, Lubeck and Oravia Castle are the best known locations in Murnau's Nosferatu. But the connoisseurs among you have probably noticed one or two short, more casual scenes that we would like to look at in more detail today. First of all, a familiar environment. We are back in Lubeck. Its history as a vampire film town has not yet been fully told. The scenes in which the real estate agent Nock is chased through the streets by the angry crowd were also filmed here. The recordings were taken in Rademacher Walk. In Pagonian Street, which was filmed from the viewing platform of St. Petri Church. And in Bloem's Walk. The countless narrow streets, corridors and courtyards of Lübeck's old town have changed significantly in appearance after severe war damage and reconstruction. The deliberately chosen houses, which were already dilapidated at the time, have disappeared from the cityscape. Bloem's Walk was also part of Hutter's return journey from the Count's castle back to his fictional hometown of Wisborg. He crosses it just before he hugs his beloved Ellen again. The Israelsdorf Oak, a natural monument in the St. Gertrude district of Lübeck, about 15 kilometers from Travemünde, has completely disappeared since 1932. It is also one of the short sequences of Hutter's hasty return journey. At the time of filming, she was already almost 600 years old. In the end, the ravages of time took a toll on her. Despite safety measures, she threatened to collapse on the smokehouse, the building right behind her, and had to be felled. And Nock, who is stewing in the cell, of course, filmed in the halls of the Johanneshüller Film Studios in Berlin, like all the interior shots. I already told you a few words about this in the last video. Incidentally, the scenes in which the gravediggers mark the doors of the houses were taken in the Fugtingscourt. in contrast to the shots in which the coffins of the plague victims were carried down Dippenau Street. What else is there to say? For example, the painting on the wall of this studio set was inspired by a real work of art. The model was the picture created in 1901 by the marine painter Hans Bordt, which shows a scene from the sea battle near Gotland in 1564. It hangs in the Red Room of the Lubeck town hall. As with the Orava Castle video, this time too, in addition to our own research results, we were able to secure the help of Nosferatu expert Jens Guttebrueck at one point or another. Something interesting was discovered during the conversation. Lubeck, but also Wismar, were often used as replacement locations. Murnau had planned significantly more filming locations and, in some cases, much more extravagant depictions. According to his ideas, this scene should be filmed in the small town of Lauenburg on the Elbe. Ultimately, it became the Fugtingscourt in Lübeck. This one was also supposed to be created either in Lauenburg or Lübeck, and looked much more dramatic, with trees shaken by the storm. In the end, Lübeck won again, the Israelsdorf Oak. After we contacted Lauenburg's Tourism Association and the head of the City Museum, to whom we would like to thank once again, we were informed that the photos of a ship approaching a city were taken in the Old Town Harbour. The only scene that comes into question was proven to have been shot in Wismar. One might think that the scenery of the Black Sea port of Varna, where the Empusa is loaded before leaving, could have been filmed in Lauenburg. But far from it, this is studio work. The recordings in which the dead crew members are taken off board the ship after the Count quenched his thirst on them during the journey were taken in the harbour of Wismar. One reason for the filming being somewhat scaled down in the end was certainly that the Prana Film Production Company, which was founded in 1921, the year in which the film was filmed, had plenty of resources, but not inexhaustible ones, like the UFA did at the time. Nosferatu remained their first and only film. After copyright disputes with Bram Stoker's widow, she was insolvent again in 1922. Maybe Murnau was simply satisfied with what he had seen and his team shortened the trip. Next, Rob's city, the city of Lüneburg. Here the Count was supposed to sneak through the streets, past the shutters of the houses. This scene was marked, maybe, in the shooting schedule. He sneaked at the end, through Lübeck and Wismar. These photos were taken in the Lüneburg Heath, more precisely in an area of land characterized by moors that was owned by the Horening family. A whole series of other natural beauties can be located in the High Tatras, but also in Germany, for example in the Tegel forest, which I already mentioned in the last video. And sometimes just an inconspicuous meadow. A dirt road or ordinary farmland was enough for the film team to effectively stage the events. With so many views of the mainland, It strikes me we haven't even talked about the Count's sea voyage on the Empusa. It's actually called Jürgen and was a schooner from Wismar. Murnau had the ship towed behind the island of Poel in August 1921 in order to be able to film it on the open sea and later the entrance to the harbour area of the Hanseatic city of Wismar. The shots of the inside of the ship, well, what do you think? Almost certainly taken in the studio. Underneath, as well as on the deck of the Jürgen, again film history and world-famous images. I would have liked to tell you more about the further fate of the ship, but neither the Tourism Association or the Wismar City Archive, nor the German Maritime Museum, the Flensburg Ship History Archive or the Rostock Shipping Museum had something to say about it. To all those who would like to have the feeling of being on board the Empusa, we recommend a trip on the Wismara, a replica of a late medieval Hanseatic cog. We would like to take this opportunity to thank you once again for the possibility of short-term employment. Ellen's longing looks over the ocean were filmed at the Red Cliff on the North Sea island of Sylt. The unique 30 m high cliff stretches 4 kilometers in length from Wenningstedt to Kampen. To give the impression of a maritime cemetery, they simply put a few crosses in the sand. This is what it says in the 1963 memoirs of Ruth Landschoff, the actress who played Harding's sister. In the script, the areas around the island of Helgoland are noted in all scenes that show shots of the high seas or roaring water. Unfortunately, the Tourism Association and the island's museum did not know how to answer our questions regarding the truth. Another personal thank you to these two. There is one last filming location we still have to discuss, and that involves the aforementioned rich shipowner Harding. As is well known, Ellen stays with him and his sister for the time that Hutter stays with the Count. Anyone who thinks that the villa and park are also on the coast is wrong. In fact, they can be found in Berlin. Not surprising, after all, Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau himself was a real Berlin boy for several years. He lived in this property, in the Grunewald district, from 1919 to 1926 before Hollywood called him. A memorial plaque today commemorates this outstanding personality. After his death in 1931 in a car accident in Santa Barbara, California, his body was transported to Germany and buried in the cemetery of the Brandenburg community of Stahnsdorf, southwest of Berlin. The 11-member mourning community included Emil Jennings, Fritz Lang and Greta Garbo, among others. Since then, the family crypt has repeatedly been the victim of vandalism, most recently in 2015, when unknown persons broke into the mausoleum and stole the director's embalmed head. Remains of a candle suggested an occult background. The whereabouts of the head are still unknown to this day. Thanks to the tireless work of historians and officials, it is possible to solve the final mysteries of the film together. Not all the stories about the silent film classic have been told yet. That's why we'll definitely see each other again soon for a new video about our favorite vampire count.